Their social role is capital in human form. They don't act to stop climate change because the changes that are needed by the people of this world are directly contrary to the needs of capital. And capital has no conscience. Capital doesn't care about humanity's future because capital never has children. Capital only has one imperative: it has to grow. The only reason for using money to buy stock, launch a corporation, build a factory, or drill an oil well is to get more money back than you put in. It's the way the system works. Now, it doesn't always happen, as we're seeing currently in the world today. Capital often fails to achieve that goal, but that is its goal. That's what it's always trying to do. If it doesn't do that, it would collapse. As Joel Koval says, capitalism can no more survive limits on growth than a person can live without breathing. And in fact, they'll rather have us live without breathing than them lose the ability to grow. Under capitalism, the only measure of success is how much is sold every day, every week, every year. It doesn't matter if the sales include vast quantities of products that are directly harmful to both humans and nature, or that many of the commodities simply can't be produced without spreading disease, destroying the forests that produce the oxygen we breathe, demolishing ecosystems, treating our water, air, and soil as sewers for the disposal of industrial waste. Even if those things are central to growth, they have to happen because growth has to happen. It all contributes to profits and thus to the growth of capital, and that's what counts. Pollution, and this is the thing that they constantly don't want you to say here, and what the politicians never say. Pollution is not an accident. It is not a market failure. It's the way the system works. How big is this problem? In 1998, the World Resources Institute, a very highly respected research organization, conducted a major international study of the resource inputs and outputs used by corporations and major industrial countries. There was in North America and Europe, mainly. So they were looking at water, raw materials, fuel, and so on, and then what happened to it. They found, quote, 1/2 to 3/4 of annual resource inputs to industrial economies are returned to the environment as waste within 12 months. 1/2 to 3/4 of what capitalist industry uses is spewed out as waste within 12 months. Similar numbers have been reported by other studies. As you know, worldwide, even at a very, setting the bar very low, about 1 billion people live in perpetual hunger worldwide. And yet, the head of the United Nations Environmental Program said recently, quote, over half of the food produced in the world today is either lost, wasted, or discarded as a result of inefficiency in the human-managed food chain. Over half of the food doesn't feed people. He says it's a result of inefficiency. Well, inefficiency is one of those tricky capitalist words. It's one of those words economists use, because it doesn't mean what normal humans mean by inefficiency. It means they can't make a profit. That's the economic definition of inefficiency. So waste continues because it's not profitable to stop the waste. So in addition to exacerbating world hunger, capitalism's inefficiency poisons the land and water with food that's harvested but not used. Capitalism combines an irresistible drive to grow with an irresistible drive to create waste and pollution. Those are two sides of one story. If nothing stops it, capitalism will try to do that infinitely. But of course, the earth isn't infinite. The atmosphere and the oceans and the forests are very large. But ultimately, they are finite, limited resources, and capitalism in many important areas is pressing against those limits today. The 2006 WWF Living Planet report concludes, quote, "The Earth's regenerative capacity," that's the Earth's ability to absorb waste and bounce back. "The Earth's regenerative capacity can no longer keep up with demand. People are turning resources into waste faster than nature can turn waste back into resources." Now, I've got a disagreement with that statement, because it places the blame on people as an abstract category. In fact, the devastation is caused by the global capitalist system. They're fundamentally correct, by the way, about what's happening. My disagreement is words. The devastation is caused by the global capitalist system and by the tiny class of exploiters that profit from capitalism's continued growth. The great majority of people on Earth are victims, not perpetrators. In particular, capitalist pollution has passed the physical limit of the ability of nature to absorb carbon dioxide and other gases while keeping the Earth's temperature stable. Nature has done that for millions of years. But now we push past a certain limit and something else has to give. And what's giving is the atmosphere's ability to keep the Earth's temperature, the Earth's climate, within a narrow band that we have lived in, that humans have always lived in, the entire time our species has been on this Earth. Greenhouse gas emissions, as a result of this, the world is warmer today than it has been for 100,000 years. And our temperatures continue to rise. Greenhouse gas emissions are not unusual or exceptional. Pouring crap into the environment is a fundamental feature of the system, and it isn't going to stop so long as capitalism survives. Now, that's why solutions like carbon trading have failed so badly, and they will continue to fail. Waste and pollution and ecological destruction are built into the system's DNA. So no matter how carefully they configure the scheme and juggle it and push corners around and solve this little piece of it, push that to a corner of it, no matter how sincere many of the implementers of these trading systems are, capitalism's fundamental nature will prevail. We've seen this with Kyoto's Clean Development Mechanism, under which polluters in rich countries can avoid cutting their own emissions if they invest in equivalent emission-reducing projects in the Third World. A study from Stanford University in California shows that 2/3 or more of the CDM emission credits sold so far have produced 0 reductions in emissions. 2/3 or more. Of course, the entire system, as one observer wrote, is based on, quote, enough lies to make a subprime mortgage pusher blush. CDM continues. So what do they do? I mean, it's astonishing. This is supposed to be this incredibly efficient system that always gets you to the right solution, right? The miracle of the market. Here we got a system that doesn't work. Everybody knows it doesn't work. People taking part in it know it doesn't work. So why does it continue? Because there's profits to be made in buying and selling credits. CDM is an attempt to trick the market into doing good in spite of itself. The market's a lot smarter than that. Its drive for profits wins every time. This morning we've heard the term, great talk, thank you, eco-socialism used several times by people. I've been asked any number of times since I started using the phrase, why on earth do you say eco-socialism? I mean, we've been saying socialism forever. Why do we need eco on the front of it? You know? After all, the founders of the revolutionary socialist movement, Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, were deeply concerned about humanity's relationship to nature. What we would today call ecological ideas are deeply embedded in their writings. In the 1920s, there was also a very influential ecology movement in the Soviet Union, based on Marxist concepts. So why do we need a new word? I mean, it's been there.